Hi y'all, this is Susan at Grace Journaling, and today we're going to make this very cute card. It's a Christmas card, but it's got a secret. On the inside it has a little pocket so you can put in a gift card. So it's got a little gift card pocket. So this is perfect for when you're giving gifts where you're going to be giving a gift card. We have several people that we give gift cards to every year, and generally they kind of just get it inside a Christmas card, but this is a really cute way to do it. We're going to be using the Winter Birds stamp set from Sweet and Sassy Stamps to do the bird. And the paper is from the Paper Studio. It's the Season's Greetings paper pad. You can get that over at your local Hobby Lobby, not a problem. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to assemble the card. We want to do this because it needs to have a little bit of time to dry. So you're going to need 3 pieces of Kraft paper. Let me get my measurements here for you. The measurements, this one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This piece is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4, and then we have this one piece that is 1 inch by 2 3/4. So we're going to use these to build our gift card. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to score this little piece of paper at 1/2 inch. Because we're going to fold this in half, and this is going to attach the pocket to the front of the card. Move this out of the way. It does not have to be perfect. As you can see, this is not perfect, but you just want to make it where it will fold, and you will just glue it onto the card like so. So we're going to glue it here to the card, and we're going to use our art glitter glue. I really like this glue. Before I had been using just the double-sided tape, but I really have found that I use this glue more since I've gotten it. I've really been impressed with it. Nothing falls off of my cards with this, which is really, really good. Okay, so I'm going to attach some glue, and then I'm going to attach it to the left side of the card at the bottom. I'm going to make sure it gets good and even. I will turn it kind of this way, make sure it's even with the bottom side of the card. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach this piece of the card to this. So again, we're going to add a little bit more of the art glitter glue. I want to line this up evenly with the bottom and the side of the card, and then I'm just going to attach it. So it makes just a card with a flap on it. Another way that you could do it probably is you could make a card that's a side fold and then cut this piece out, but I think it looks so much cleaner adding the piece on the bottom. You don't have any straggly kind of wobbly lines. So I think that looks really good. So we're going to let that sit aside, and we're going to let it dry. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to stamp our pictures that we're using, the stamps that we're using. I'm going to use my Misty to position it. It doesn't really need to, but I like it so I can, if I need to reposition because it didn't stamp fully, I can reposition it and not have to worry about that. So I'm just going to cut down a piece of paper to fit my image. It'll fit right there. Put that. We're going to start with the Robin stamp. Again, these are from the Winter Birds collection stamp set from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. I really like this. It's got lots of variety of different birds, so it really could be very versatile. It does not have to be just Christmas. It could just be, this could be a dove, these could be bluebirds, they could just be any kind of birds. So it's really versatile. We are using it for Christmas, so it is perfect for Christmas. We have our cardinal looking bird here. And I'm going to stamp it with my Tuxedo Black Memento. Get it good and inked up. Stamp it. And we got a good, nice, clean image, which is good. I'm gonna put this over here on my stamped chamois, and I need to actually moisten, sorry about the bounce there. I need to moisten my stamped chamois a little bit. Alright, so we're gonna get the excess off of there. So we're going to color this in, but before we do that, we're gonna go on and stamp the leaves that we need to put on here, which I just got nice and wet. So we're going to put these on here. They don't have to be any, they don't have to be straight because you're going to cut them out anyway. So let me make sure I got these good and dry. I actually don't have that one dry. Okay, so we're just going to put those on there just randomly like that. And then we're just going to stamp them again with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And then just stamp them. Alright, those are good. Again, I'm going to just move those over to my stamp chamois to clean off the ink. Alright, so we have the main portion of the stamping done. We've got the cardinal, and then we've got the different greeneries. So we're going to go in and start coloring in the cardinal. Now, I would suggest if you're using alcohol markers, this is just regular white cardstock. Put a piece of paper underneath it because it will bleed through, and sometimes it'll bleed through onto your tabletop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to be using my alcohol markers. I'm going to be using light and dark cherry cobbler. I'm going to be using light and dark old olive, dark pumpkin pie, and dark basic black. These are from the stamping blends from Stampin' Up. I really have liked these. I actually prefer them over other alcohol markers. I don't sell these, so I'm not trying to tell you that just because I'm trying to make a profit. I just actually really like these. I like the fact that there's a light and a dark, which makes it so much easier when you are trying to blend things because it takes the guesswork out of it. You just get the two and you got a perfect blend. So I really like that. So I'm going to start coloring in my robin. I'm going to actually start with the light, and I'm going to be using the pen end for now. I will go back in and use the brush in a little bit later. So I'm just going to start coloring in with the light and try to be as neat as I possibly can. This does bleed a little bit on this white cardstock, but that's all right. Not the end of the world. So I've colored that basic in. I'm going to go into sections. I'm not going to do this whole thing. I'm going to do it in sections. So I'm going to go in here with the dark, and I'm just going to add some highlights, some shading, and then I'm going to blend that all kind of together. We're going to go back afterwards with a colorless blender and kind of give it some highlights. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm using the brush. I forgot I was using the brush. So I got out of the lines just a little bit, but I'm blending that together. So I'm going to continue doing that throughout the bird. This is the dark. I actually started with the dark this time. So with the dark, I'm just going to outline kind of the little lines on its wings. And then I'm just going to go in, I'm going to go in with my light cherry cobbler and just start blending those colors together. Going with the dark there, a little bit right here. And let's see, let's go a little bit underneath the face with the dark. I'm going to do a little bit down here. Actually kind of make it have a little bit more of the dark right here. The bird is sitting. A little bit down here. And a little bit like that. We're just going to kind of go in there now with the light cherry cobbler. And we're going to color that in, but we're also going to blend in this area down here. The dark cherry cobbler. I really have problems speaking today, y'all. I don't know what it is. So y'all forgive me if I bumble around this. So we're going to get that in there. I'm not doing a real super job coloring this in. I just kind of take the where I've done the dark and try to blend it outwards. Kind of like that. Alright, so next I'm going to color in his face. And we're going to be using the dark basic black for the face. You're going to see where I'm going to cover up the eye. Don't worry, we're going to go back in there with a white pen and draw an eye on there a little bit better. So we color in that. And then we're going to go in with the dark pumpkin pie. And we're going to just color in the beak. Just like that. So now we're going to go in with our colorless blender. I'm actually using one from Cali Art. I had this one, so I'm using it. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to kind of highlight the areas that need to be a little bit lighter. Just add a little more character. So I'm going to do some right here on his head. And this does a really good job of kind of lightening some things up. A little bit on his wing. A little bit through his feathers to add some variation. You can see where it's bled out. This is it. Alcohol markers do bleed out. So, you know, if you get outside the lines a little bit or it starts to bleed out, it's not the end of the world. It's kind of annoying, but it's kind of how alcohol markers just kind of behave. So we're just going in there and kind of lightening things up just a little bit. It gives it a little bit more variation. I'm also going to do the same thing on the beak and on the face. We're just going to kind of right here on the face, just kind of lighten that up just a hair. And the same way, I just kind of lighten up a little bit of the bird's beak like that. So there is the finished portion. So now I'm just going to go in. This is a Sakura Decorise pen. This is just white. And I'm going to go in and put in his eye. Just like that. And so he is done. So I'm going to set him aside and let him dry a little bit. And then we're going to come in here and color our greenery. So I'm going to start out with this one here. And I'm just going to go in with the dark Old Olive. And I'm just going to kind of highlight the veining in on the leaves. Kind of like this little portion right here. Just kind of highlight it a little bit. I'm going to go in with the Old Olive light, and then I'm just going to kind of blend those darker colors into the lighter color. Again, we'll be going over this a little bit with our Cali Art colorless blender, but we're going to finish this first. So I'm just going to keep switching between these two colors as I color in this holly branch here. So we're just kind of doing the tips, kind of down the sides, just kind of wherever you think that, you know, it might need a little bit of a highlight, a little bit of depth. I am by no means a professional alcohol marker artist. I've picked up a few tricks here and there, and I use them, but I am not one of these people that, you know, they can go in there with like 5 different colors of green and make this beautifully variegated leaf. I like simplicity, so that's part of the reason why I really like these stamping blends. Okay, so we're going to go back over here. We're going to do this holly here. And again, with the dark, I'm just going to go in and just kind of give it some dark And then we're going to blend that in with the lighter green, the lighter old olive. I really like these pens. It takes the guesswork out of trying to blend greens or colors, but at the same time, they're just really simple, and they're really good quality pens. They seem to work really, really well. Okay, so for the next part, I'm just going to color in the berries on these. Actually, let me go on and color this one in. I'm not going to color these little round dots around it because they're going to get cut off anyway. So we're just going to go work on just getting these leaves colored. Sorry for the squeaky pens. I think I put too much pressure on them. All right, so now we're going to color in the berries, and we're going to start with the red, the dark red. And we're just going to do kind of this part right here with the darker color, and then we're just going to go in with the lighter color again. Just kind of color those in just a little bit. And then I'm just going to go in with a lighter color to finish filling them out. Again, we're going to be going on some of these with the colorless blender, and some of the color's going to go away anyway. So we're just going to get that colored in. I really like this stamp set. It is very, very pretty. Ignore the printer going off in the back. My son is homeschooling, or we homeschool our son, and he is actually printing out some of his homework. Come on in. I'm videoing, by the way, so just so you know. Sorry. It's okay. Yes, I'm recording my voice.
Oh. Sorry.
So now they recorded your voice too.
Sorry.
It's okay. So anyway, we're going in here with the colorless blender, and we're just taking out some of that color, and you can see it kind of gives it almost a watercolory kind of look, which I like. So you're just going to kind of go in there, get it to the look that you want. I like these colorless blenders. They really do help kind of add a little bit of extra to the elements when you're using the alcohol markers. I haven't bought the one from Stampin' Blends or Stampin' Up, mostly because I already had this one, so I'm using it, and then when it is done I will see about ordering the other. So we're just going to go in here and just kind of remove some of that color at the tips. It's kind of where I'm concentrating them at. Alright, so we have finished doing our coloring. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to cut these elements out. Unfortunately, these do not have dies with them. That's the one thing. Sweet and Sassy doesn't really do dies. I would love it if they did, but they don't, and that's fine. You can cut it out. You'll have to cut them out manually, and that's not a big deal. It's just a little bit more time consuming, which is, you know, nothing bad with it. It is what it is. So I'm just going to cut these out. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white around the pieces that I'm cutting out. I know this is riveting TV. Maybe I should start coming up with some jokes that I could tell or something while I'm doing this kind of thing to make it a little bit more interesting. So the birds are pretty easy. The bird is pretty easy to cut out because, you know, he's a pretty simple shape. There's not a lot of intricate cuts in that. So that one was pretty easy to do. These are a little bit more of a pain to do because of all of the dips in here and the way the leaves fit and everything. But we'll make it work. Yes, we will. And these don't have to be perfect. You just do them the best you can. You still get a nice effect either way. It's the same way as like how they bleed out from a little bit from the inside. I try to stay in the lines, but it tends to bleed out. Not a big deal. It'll be okay. But it's the same way with cutting. You just do the best you can. And you hope that whoever receives your card appreciates the fact that you spent this much time making it. They may or may not. You know how people are. I know, people don't think a lot about handcrafts. They just think, oh, well, it's homemade, so therefore, I don't know, it's got this thought about how it's cheaper or whatever. I know my mom runs into that trouble. She's a quilter. She makes beautiful quilts. But the problem is she couldn't get the time that she put in it and the fabric that she put into it. She couldn't make that back trying to sell it because no one wanted to spend that much money on a quilt. It doesn't hurt them to go out. They'll go out to, some fancy place and buy, a $200 quilt or $200 comforter, and they don't blink an eye at it. But when it's something about handmade, they just don't take it as seriously, or I don't know what it is. But she finally decided that, instead of trying to sell her quilts, she makes them and she donates them to the Veterans Home in Temple, the Veterans Retirement Home. So she makes a lot of patriotic quilts. Every year for Christmas, she gets a ton of fabric. That's our go-to gift for her. We hit up all the quilt stores and find patriotic fabric for her to make her quilts for these veterans. My husband's a veteran, and I know it's something that we hold very dear ourselves. We love our veterans. We love our active duty soldiers. My husband and I actually have a ministry that we run. It's called Fort Hood Wounded Spirits, and it's a PTSD ministry, and we have a program that helps people deal with PTSD from a biblical standpoint. We cover all kinds of topics in our classes, and they are free classes. We offer them in our area, and we're actually going to be having one starting back up in January is the plan. My husband had surgery 2 months ago, and he is in the process of going through physical therapy. So that's kind of set our ministry behind a little bit because he hasn't been able to get around like he needs to. But that's okay. It's all in God's timing. I didn't color the stem here, you notice, and the reason is it's tucked underneath so you can't see it. Kind of like these dots, why I didn't color those in, because they're just going to get cut out. But I'm leaving the stem there because I need it for placement to glue the leaf into place. So anyway, yes, we run a PTSD ministry for our soldiers and veterans. And we are actually about to become what is called associate missionaries with Armed Forces Baptist Missions. And all that really is a fancy title saying that we are working from our home church as missionaries. We're not actually actively seeking support from other churches for this ministry. It's just a ministry out of our church. And we are missionaries through our church going into the Army base, which is right here, which is Fort Hood. So, all right, so we got that all done. So we're going to set this aside. We're going to set this aside for a minute because we now have to cut out the label that'll go on the front. This is from, let's see, this one is from Stampin' Up. It is the stitched nested label dies. This is one of them. We're going to cut this out with the Sizzix. Just on plain white cardstock. I'm going to set this in there in my Sizzix. Get this in there. I'm going to run that through and we'll have us a nice little label. I like these stitched labels. I think they're really cute. In fact, I like any of these dies that have the stitched portion to it because I just like the way they look. See how nice? I don't know how well you can see. You see how stitched that looks? Oops, I'm pushing off camera. So I really like that. So we're gonna got that cut out. And my son is printing something else for homeschool again. Oh, yes, get what you need to get.
I forgot.
It's okay. All right, so this is a tag and we're going to attach these onto the tag, but we're not going to do that yet. We have a little bit more stamping that we need to do. So we're going to, again, use a white piece of paper. I'm just going to tear off this excess here. We don't need it. And I am going to pull out my Misty and we're going to stamp the sentiment on here. We are going to stamp the sentiment on here with my Versamark because we are going to emboss it with this really pretty gold. It's metallic gold rich super fine embossing powder by Wow. Okay, so we're going to just mount this on there. It's wet because of course I sprayed my thing. Alright, so we're going to put this on here. It does not have to be perfect or anything like that because we're going to cut around it anyway. Okay, so we're just going to label that like that. Then we're going to go in with the Versamark and get that inked up. And then stamp. I like to put some good pressure there. I'm going to leave this on here in case I need to restamp it for some reason. I'm going to go in with the gold embossing powder. Put some on there. Shake off the excess. Got a pretty good clear mark there. Let's put this back in here. Set that aside. Now we're going to pull out with the heat gun. And we're going to melt the look how pretty that looks. I love that gold. You see that? Isn't that pretty? Try to get up here where you can see it a little bit better. It's really, really pretty. All right, so I move that out of our way. We're not going to restamp this, so I'm going to go in and take the sentiment off and move my Misty out of the way. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to trim this down, and then we're going to mount it onto the blue cardstock. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to make sure that this is dry, and it is. I'm going to take my metal ruler, and I'm just going to trim off the excess, but I want to make sure that everything is kind of even. So that's good. I'm going to use my Kraft knife, and I'm just going to trim just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to line up the things that are lined up here. If I can do it. Actually, let's try this. I may go off camera here a little bit because I want to make sure that I got this good. So excuse me while I'm off camera here a little bit. Hope that didn't tear. All right, let's try this again. There we go. Finally got it to cut loose. All right, so now we just need to cut off these ends here, which I can just use with my ruler. I'm gonna lay this in here like this. Get that even. Alright, so we've got that trimmed down. We will need this again here in a minute. Move these extra papers out of the way. Put up the gold embossing powder so I don't spill it. Alright, so we're going to go on here with a little bit of the art glitter glue. And just going to mount it onto the blue cardstock like this. Does not have to be even because we will be evening it up. We're going to be using the We Are Memory Keepers layer guides, and I believe that we're going to use the 1/8. It catches the edge of the cardstock, so you don't have to worry. Let me move this up here where we can see it. Sorry. It catches the edge of the cardstock, of the white cardstock, so that we can get an even border all the way around it, even though this is completely not straight. So we got those cut off. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to do the bottom and do the same thing. It catches it on that lip, and we're just going to trim. I'm going to trim this all the way around. Just like that. So you have a nice even border around the Merry Christmas sentiment. Just like that. So that's going to go over with our cardinal, and we're going to attach that in a little bit. But I'm going to take a little bit of break, and I will be back. Alright, sorry about that. I had to take a quick little break to help my husband with something. So we've got these pieces together, and we are going to get them all attached onto the white label. So I'm going to be using my art glitter glue, and I'm just going to attach these on there. I'm going to leave the tail and kind of the head unglued because they're going to stick up above it slightly, and I'm not sure exactly how much, so I just want to make sure. Nice thing about it is you can adjust it a little bit till you get it like you want it. Okay, so we've got that. So now we're going to go on with this leaf and berries. Oops. And I'm just going to I'm going to leave that one up slightly because I may want it actually let's adjust it just a hair. There we go. Now remember, these don't show, so you don't worry about the berries here on this one. It's just it's not going to show. We're just going to stick it on there. And then, of course, the leaves. And they're just going to kind of pop up here just to add some more detail. Okay, so now I'm going to attach the sentiment that just simply says Merry Christmas. It's going to be mounted onto the card. And we're going to have to, that's the nice thing about the glitter glue is you can adjust things. Now this is why I did not glue that down, is so it can kind of go over the top. So I kind of can adjust things a little bit. So that's the main piece that'll go onto the front of the card. So now we are going to construct the rest of this card. So we have two pieces of blue paper. It is cut to, let's see, 2.5 by 4 inches. We have the paper here, the poinsettia paper, and it's also cut to 2.5 by 4. So these 3 pieces are the same. We also have this piece here, which is cut to 1 3/4 by 4. And this is our pocket for our gift card. I really love this whole pad of paper. It has some really beautiful papers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach one of the blue to the front flap of the gift card. Card. I really like the art glitter glue because it's very forgiving at first. It gives you a chance to kind of move it around and make sure it's good and even. But then when it's down, it is down. I have never had anything come unstuck using the art glitter glue. It is really great. So if you've never used it, give it a try. I just get it on Amazon, but there's lots of other places that sell it. So if you like to spend your money other places, check and see if they have it. All right, so we're going to mount this blue card, this cardstock right here on the inside right here. This is where the inside sentiment will go. I'm not actually going to put anything on this one because I'm going to be using them. I'm not sure who they're going to receive them yet, but I will probably do a sentiment on white cardstock, and I'll probably print it off my computer, and it'll go right there. So I'm not going to put a sentiment there, but you can if you're making this card. So now I'm going to glue down the poinsettia paper. Just right above that. Again, move it around to get it, where you're even all the way around. And it looks like that at this point. Looks really nice. So now we're going to glue in the pocket. Being careful, because this one has words on it, that I glue the sides and the bottom. I've made one of these where I wasn't paying attention and I ended up with something like this. Thankfully, it hadn't glued all the way down and I was able to remove it, let the glue dry, and then redo it. You want to do this, especially on the sides, as close to the edge as you can to make sure that the pocket has plenty of room for your gift card. On the bottom, it's not as needed, but I still try to kind of get it as close to the edge as I can. And then I'm just going to mount that into there, into the card. Have some extra glue coming up. And your pocket right here, once it's dry, you can just put your gift card in it. It makes a nice little presentation. It's better than just a card with a gift card stuck in it. So the final thing that we're going to do is we're going to mount this onto the front, and we are going to use double-sided foam tape. I'm just going to cut a piece, kind of eyeball it a little bit. What I usually do is I cut this down into like 3 strips, and I'll put one here along the top, and if I need to trim it, I will trim it. Trim it just a little bit. Get my scissors in there. And that makes this tape go a little bit further. So, because it kind of can be a little bit expensive. So I'm just going to mount that on there. Again, cut off just that little piece right there. And then I have the last strip that goes right here in the middle. And then sometimes these can be a little hard to get up, so I use the edge of my scissors to peel back the double-sided tape backing. And I pull that away. And then I'm going to mount this onto the card. Oops. Front on the little flap that opens up to show the for the gift card. So there is our card. I think it turned out really cute. it's that time of year. I'm always having to give gift cards, and I wanted to do something that would be a little more creative. And I think this certainly does fit that bill. I think it's very pretty. I think the way that it turned out. I love a little bit of gold on the sentiment, the colored in bird, all of that. But you could do this for so many different ways. We have a lot of kids that we give gift cards to. So you could do one with snowmen, or something that's a little more kid friendly. This one's really more kind of as an adult kind of card. I made a bunch of these up actually just earlier this week. We were having Pastor Appreciation Night. And I made 4 of these for the 4 pastors at our church, and put in Dunkin' Donuts gift cards for them. And they were a little bit different. I'll have to remember, see if I can put the pictures at the end. I don't have the video, but I have some pictures, and I don't currently have any of them with me. But I used a paper pad from Echo Park that was a faith-based one, and I really love the way those turned out. So I'll put them at the end so you can kind of see a different version of this. But this is really cute. It makes a very simple kind of interactive card. You use a little bit less paper this way, so you can make quite a few of them. You can make 4 of these backs out of 1 sheet of paper. So out of 2 sheets of paper, you can easily get 4 cards. Maybe even 5 cards actually, because you could probably get, about 5 cards out of 2 sheets of paper. I haven't tested that, so we'll see. But that's the card, and I hope that you like the video, and I hope that you like the card. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. I appreciate comments. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see in the future, let me know. So come visit me at gracejournaling.com. You can find me on Instagram and at Facebook at Grace Journaling. So see you then. Bye.